Irene, can you see the screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, so...
Yeah, if I can see it, it's gotta be good.
Mike, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am, I see
Can
it.
you read what's up there?
Yeah, I can see it.
I was just going to see if you could read.
Oh, can I read? Well,
I see 28 and 20,
yeah,
25.
Where is it?
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay, we're rolling.
You have everything ready, Mr. Strizak?
Yep. Everything's rolling.
Okay, let's get going.
Start on time instead of before the meeting?
Well, you want me to wait 1 minute?
Yes.
Start on time and on time.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Are we at 15 seconds now? I'm going to go when it...
8.
we should just start at 5 o'clock.
It is 5 o'clock.
Not in my watch.
Okay, welcome to the January 28th Black Canyon City Water Improvement District regular meeting. We posted meeting notices at the post office, outside the water office door in the case, and on, Tom, I believe, 2 different websites?
3 different Facebook groups.
3 different Facebook
Black
groups.
Canyon Bulletin Board and 2 other groups. I can't remember which.
Hey, I'm Elaine Clayton. I am the board chair.
Melina Raylick, treasurer.
Tom Strizak, secretary.
Bob Hannes, field operations.
Mr. Whittington.
Bill Whittington, board counsel.
And Chrissy,
Excuse me?
would you like to introduce yourself? We're doing roll call. Or
I can't hear you, what?
would you like to introduce yourself? We're doing roll call.
I'm Chris Matheson. I've lived in this town 33 years.
Okay, and next.
Marcy?
Oh, Marcy Hines. I've lived here for like on and off 40 years.
And
Irene Brooks. I've lived here 25 years.
Jerry Cook, we've only been here a little over 19 years.
Kim Cook.
Kent, 20 years.
Mike and just moving in.
Mike just moving in.
Well, Mike.
We're glad to see all of you here. And Bill, please let me know if I forget to do something. 3, we're going to do a consent agenda, approval of minutes for the special meeting of January 10th. But we're going to table that because
They're not ready yet.
we're not ready yet. Hopefully, and Cindy Alondro just came in. Hi, Cindy. The website wasn't up, but we will get all the meeting minutes posted soon. Reports and correspondence. Agenda item 4, chair's report and activities for January. So we've talked a lot about the rural community RCAC, and I don't remember what the last AC stands for, but let's take a look at what it is that they're going to be doing. I'm so excited for them to get here and get started. Wrong one. I know it's here.
There's a secret meeting.
Here we go. Work plan. So this is going to take a little bit of time, and there's a process, but I think we've gotten we've submitted all the paperwork that we have, that we, for them to at least start moving forward. So in January, February of this year, they're going to have technical, managerial, and do a financial assessment. Bob already, you talked to them and you gave them a list of all of the equipment and what our needs are, right?
Yeah, I kind of gave them a brief overview of the condition of each of the sites, the 3 well sites, the booster pumps, and the storage tanks. And as they go forward with the assessment, we will work hand in hand with them to get them more information, the specifics on the pump models, pump curves, electrical, and that stuff. So.
Right. And so they're going to schedule a field visit. They do have an office in Tucson, but this is so important because we have no idea what the total health of the district is. We don't know. In looking at where we need to focus our attention for projects, it's a flip of the coin. And this way, we will have a very clear picture of the status, the health of the district, our finances, and this is going to be a big help. Asset inventory. Asset inventory beginning January 2025 and ongoing. And we're going to continue looking at the best funding strategies. And RCAC is not going to be the only source of funding. They're going to help us look for other funding methods as well. And we can still continue looking for grant writers, although I unfortunately read today that Trump put a stop to all federal grants and such. So this might cause a bit of a delay in
The court,
It's a pause.
a pause,
the
right?
court put an injunction on it
Yeah,
to stop it for a while.
right. So that could affect us in our looking for grants and federal money,
They can
right?
choose who they want.
You know, it seemed to be, our timing is not always great on these things. So, capital improvement plan, infrastructure funding strategy. And this is so important because we have never strategically decided what projects to take on and how to proceed. And so this is going to be a huge step to get this information and be able to look at the condition of the district and strategically move forward in making our repairs or replacement, whatever. So assist with requests for proposals for engineering consultants, and we do need that. We need an engineer because one of the things that most everyone requires when you're looking for funding, including the National Rural Water Association, RCAC, is to have a preliminary engineering report.
Madam Chair, what agenda item are you on right now?
I'm so sorry, it's I'd have to go back, it's not 5, here in a second.
I think you were gonna do 4, weren't you?
Right, and I,
Four is the chair's report and the operations report.
oh, did I miss a slide?
I don't know.
I don't know. Here, let me see.
That's not it.
Yeah, chair's report. Where did the slide go? Okay, so we will go back and do the other one. I have no idea. Oh, there it is. Reports and correspondence.
Still not.
Oh, well, part of the report and correspondence was I had reviewing RCAC's assessment schedule.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the right one on your screen.
Yeah, the screen's on number 5 anyhow. You're on number 4, everyone.
Right. And don't ask me how to do that. Bob? Why is it not moving? Let me, oh, I know. I'll do this. I have to end the slideshow. That's why we have an hour and a half meeting now. I came in and practiced today, and it went quite smoothly. Bill, what?
There
Okay,
you go.
are we good
There you
here?
go.
It's not my fault.
Huh?
It's not my fault.
Well, okay, so now I can do RCAC's assessment?
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Oh, because I thought the chair's report was just,
You can, the chairs, can I clarify?
absolutely.
Since I'm doing a little bit of training tonight for you, I'll start there. The chair has the liberty of reporting on almost anything they want. You can't invite conversations from anybody on the board or the public on an item that you haven't itemized on the agenda. So the chair's report is not a bad spot where you just want to pontificate on things of interest that have
Right.
occurred during the month, whatever, you can. You
Okay,
can't engage
Right.
anyone in it.
right,
If someone wants to speak to the issue, like another board member, you have to put it on the agenda to
Correct.
permit that. So you're on your own,
yeah,
and as a board chairman, you can talk about almost anything, even if it's not on the agenda under the term chair's report.
that's what I thought. And I was just gonna recap this. I wasn't gonna ask them anything.
But you
Our
have,
agenda
But you asked me.
item 4.
Oh, I did?
Yep,
you have
Okay,
an item-
sorry.
but
you have an item that I thought you were about to speak to. Rural water impact is item 5E on the agenda. Is that not where you wanted to go to talk to this issue? 5E. Excuse me, 5F. My apologies.
No,
That's a different thing.
yeah,
All right.
okay.
Go ahead.
That's something that requires discussion.
Okay.
So can I just continue
Yes.
letting them know
Mhm.
quickly what the RCAC, okay. Thank you. Now I forgot what okay.
The screen's difficult to read if it matters. There's a way to go to slideshow from the beginning. It'll
Yeah,
fill the screen.
I do, thank you.
You want to go to slideshow
I did.
and then hit from the beginning, which is on the left side. It'll.
Oh, yep, you're right, right there.
Uh-huh.
I guess I need to come in and practice more.
There you go.
Get to,
There you go.
There you go.
there you go.
there we go.
And that's read long.
Now, food for thought. And since we're training tonight, it's going to take a little time to touch it all. You have a nice presentation on this agenda item of the matters you want to cover. Those are not on the agenda. You can cover them by yourself, but because they're not on the agenda, you can't engage in conversation about them. If you wanted to put those exact same words on the agenda, then you could open each of those for conversation if you wish.
Okay.
For next time. You can't do it tonight.
Can I just make a comment on it
You
then?
can do all you want, you just can't, you cannot engage others in.
Okay, so nobody asked me any questions about any of this stuff until it's on the actual agenda, okay? I am not gonna get, I'm already, feel like I'm in the principal's office.
I'll leave you alone.
Okay. That was, here's another. Now that I can't,
It looks good on the screen, Elaine.
does it?
Full screen.
I'm, information document. Now I can't find the darn, oh, here we go. Work plan. On with the work plan. So, financial revenue analysis, that is so important. We'll talk more about that later. We're going to figure out what our financial position is, given capital improvement needs, and determine whether there's a need to raise rates. Board training, obviously. We'll take full advantage of that, and funding applications. And we're going to have to look at annual income statements for the past 3 fiscal years, year-end balance sheets, the current budget, most current quarterly income statement, current asset inventory, billed water consumption, and a 5-year infrastructure capital improvement plan, which has never been established, a debt schedule, and some preliminary engineering reports. So you guys will know why, when we talk about some of these, getting engineers and getting them on board, why that's so important and why.
Do you know that it's not advancing?
Pardon?
It doesn't seem like it's advancing. Are you? Maybe you're aware of that. I don't know.
Review current bank accounts, and I just want to, there was a question as to why there were so many accounts, and this is why. We have a BMO account, and the BMO account, all of the water payments go in there. Whenever you pay the bill online, whenever you come in and pay in the office, if you use the debit card, all of that money instantly and automatically goes to the BMO account. And then once a month, money is transferred from the BMO account to the Yavapai County Treasurer's account, where there are 4 accounts. There's the arsenic sinking fund, the capital improvement fund, impact fees, the deposit, there's deposit fees, and one other. And when it's determined how much money is generated from the water bills and how much money is in the BMO account, there is a formula, a report that tells us how much money to deposit in each of the accounts at Yavapai County Treasurer. And the point of those is to keep them all separate. We don't want one big slush fund. We want to know that we have X amount of money in the arsenic sinking fund to pay for any needs that we have with the arsenic system. So that's why we have that many accounts. And we're not moving forward with the pipe replacement on Buckskin Court or Abbott Alley. There was a $50,000 increase in that price of that contract, which, and one of the things I had asked for was, we went $20,000 over the Ironwood and Palo Verde project because we don't have any drawings of the infrastructure. We don't know where the pipes are. It's a guess. And you can be digging a straight line and there are the pipes and then all of a sudden they cross the road 2 or 3 times and it's a mess. Subsequently, we always have more costs on these projects, and so when I asked for a resubmittal, it was just $50,000 for rising material costs, labor, and rental rates for 4 months. And then you figure, if that goes over by $20,000, then we're looking at over $250,000 to do what I think is a pretty small project. And I appreciate the fact that it would be easier if we could give in to Yavapai County and replace all of the pipes before they come in and repave. But I don't feel okay being forced to do that if we don't have the money. And if we were to pay for this, we would deplete the capital improvement fund account. I'm not okay with that. So we're going to bite the bullet. We'll see what happens and wait until we complete the district assessment before we spend $250,000 to do a project of that. Issues found, right. Okay, so we are continuing to look for grants and other funding. The circuit rider, which sounds a lot like the Pony Express, he was in the office this week. He is from the Maine Rural Water Association of Arizona. So and they have some interesting options that I looked at on their website, and I have shared that with the others. And so I think the point is we haven't really had an opportunity to look for grants or other sources of funding. It's been 30 days, and I think we just need to step back, catch our breath, and not get in such a rush to do all of these projects that we spend money without having a strategic plan on how we're spending it. So, and integration of QuickBooks and Enhanced, that should happen this week. We have QuickBooks, which is all of the accounting goes into QuickBooks. Enhance is the billing. I think I got that right. They have to be integrated. And the QuickBooks software was from 2016. And QuickBooks wouldn't even they couldn't provide any assistance on it because it was so outdated. So now we have 2025, I think. That should be integrated this week, and that's going to make, or next week, I'm sorry, Lisa's out on a family emergency. And so that'll make a huge difference in our ability to move forward. And operations report, can we talk about that? Bob? Bill?
Yeah, it's on the agenda, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so the operator now can speak at his leisure,
Okay,
but because the only thing under his name is the John 3 well project, that's
Right.
the only thing you can engage a conversation on.
okay, perfect. Boy, that's a lesson learned. Thank you.
That's nice. Okay, so government board report, it goes from December 13th, 2024 to January 24th, 2025. We actually had 42 work orders and 42 were completed. That included 0 turn on, 0 turn offs, 0 new meters. We had 22 meter valve box replacement repairs, 5 main line or service line breaks repairs, 4 well booster pump system repair site maintenance, 7 rereads or final reads, 2 water pressure conditions, and then 2 customer service. So the valve meter box repair replacement, we had several just cleaning out the boxes so we could access the meter. We actually had 1 new meter installed on Bertha. We replaced a lid cracked, so we needed to replace the lid, and then we ID'd a bunch of meters just to make sure that the serial numbers are matching with the addresses. The mainline service line repairs, we had 3 district valves that needed to be replaced. We had 1 that was just a leak at the meter, it was just a gasket, and then we had another leak at the property at the meter. The well booster pump station maintenance, we did some yard work at Oasis. At GOA well site, we had a water line break on site, and then at Big John and GOA, we replaced the valves on the arsenic system. On both of those because the backwash system has failed on those. Rereads, we had 3 rereads that were okay. We had 1 that we had estimated, probably due to dogs or a locked gate. We do not go through fences or locked gates anymore. So we had to correct that once they came to the office and asked us for a reread. And then we had 3 rereads that we were incorrect on. And we gave those to Lisa and she corrected them. The water pressure conditions, we had no water incident at Mud Springs and Cat Claw that we resolved. And then a customer came in that was on Squaw Peak that had no flow for a while. We put in a new meter for them. And then on Palo Verde, they just had questions about meters and getting a new meter.
So, can I ask a question now?
Not about this.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda.
So we had, thank you.
It might come up later, Bob.
So we had 96 blue stakes. So those are still sky high. 55 pink slips, which is a little higher than normal. We took the monthly samples. Those came back clean. Nothing new on the arsenic or nitrates. They're done quarterly. The water stats. Water level is dropping. So we're down, at Big John, we're down to 26, 10 inches for the water level, and drawdown when the pump is running is 29.2. Oasis is the one that's got us concerned a little bit. We are at 32 feet water level, and then drawdown is 52 feet. We have actually turned Oasis well number 1 off. That is the one that runs on the freak drive, and so that one's producing a lot of water for the system. So we're going to take it offline for a couple weeks and let it recharge, and use the Big John and GOA. GOA is sitting at 27.3 and a drawdown of 29.9, and then that was number 2. GOA 3 is 27.10 and 28.2. So those have decreased a little bit, but not significant. But we do need to start looking at maybe some water restrictions, depending on if we get a little more precipitation. Schoolhouse loop tanks. I'll go back to projects. Schoolhouse loop tanks. Still waiting on a quote from Foster Electric for that control panel and APS panel. Big John 3. I'll wait till the end on that one. Palo Verde and Ironwood mainline upgrades. We are installing new water meters, so all the work has been done except for water meters. And Joe wanted to install all the meters himself, so they are going through and installing the meters to make sure they're done correctly. At the April and Big John sites, we put in new batteries on the generators. That was we had some battery issues there. And then the GOA generator transfer switch, we've mapped out how to wire that into the well. One of the wells is not, well number 3 is not connected to the generator. And we need to connect that. So we're going to wire that up here in the next, hopefully the next month we'll get that done. Big John 3, the status of that. We have a signed contract. I have requested a quote for a sign, because we have to get a sign built and put on site. The first company that I went to could not build a sign to WIFA specifications, so I went to a second sign company. So I'm working with Alpha Graphics. I talked to the gentleman yesterday. He thought he could get me a quote within the next couple of days. So that's kind of the status. And I did talk to KP Ventures, they're the drillers. They said whenever you're ready, we are the next on their list. So if we end up pushing it into February, they're okay with that. And that's what I have.
Well, I can't ask you anything because I think you, I made an error, but then I think you jumped in a little too quickly. We'll see. Every slide will be a surprise. We just won't know until
If I might, another training moment. If you wanted to be able to have the board discuss any of these things, you can just list them as a sub-bullet under your operator's report.
Okay.
And just a little bit of description so that anyone looking at the agenda would understand that's the topic you might be speaking of.
Okay.
And if you do that, then it opens the floor.
You did that intentionally.
Okay.
No.
So, or can we just do operations report and not have anything listed?
Yes, but then only you can report, and there could be no dialogue.
I'm not sure that was happening before, was it?
No, that wasn't. They just said operators report,
Yeah.
and we just discussed
You
it.
need to itemize them if you want to open it up to the...
Okay, so then we need to have yeah, because my topics stay the same.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we learned something.
Yes, we do, and we want to do it correctly. But I think we have an opportunity coming up.
Okay.
New business, agenda item 5, discussion and possible action, approval of the monthly financial report for November, December of 24 and January of 25. And with that, Natalie, we just signed her contract and got it back to her, I think it was yesterday, with municipal accounts. And she will begin working on these right away. I don't want to sign or approve November, December because we were not seated at the time. And January, I want to make sure it's correct because I'm not sure what to look for. And so Natalie will be helping us with that. And I'm so excited to get going with that. And then all of these reports will be discussed in a future meeting. Discussion and possible action regarding the BMO bank account. So we opened an account, a new account.
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry, yes.
are you wanting to put agenda item number 5 up on the screen?
Oh, thank you. It's not, I don't know. So I'll talk about 5. Can I? I'll redo this. I'll get this started again in a second. So, as it was, we could not start using that new BMO account. And so it was pointless from my perspective to begin using it a couple of weeks after the first of the year. So the intent is to close it, but we can't close it until March, or there are some penalties or something. So we did get a BMO debit card, which is a first, so that there we go.
You had it for a second. There you go.
So that people aren't paying out of pocket for things and then submitting all of these reimbursement receipts. That just was out of control. So, and we still do have the Water Angel account that we have not transferred the $450 into that, but we will. So those bank accounts are getting addressed, and we'll be on target with those next week. So discussion and possible action regarding the resignation of Board Chair Dave Moore. Should I read his resignation?
You're permitted to, that's your discretion.
With what?
That's your discretion.
Okay, so
The law
I'm
doesn't
going,
require it, but
I don't have to read it?
you choose the degree to which you want to inform the public about the detail. That's up to you.
Okay, I will, just because some of you might. This was written, submitted November 12th of 24. I'm writing to formally resign from my position as chair with the BCCWID effective November 12th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. It's been an honor to serve on the board for the past 10 years in office. During my tenure, I had the privilege of working alongside dedicated colleagues on numerous projects that have significantly benefited the water users within our district. These accomplishments have been a collective effort, and I'm confident that the new board members will continue to uphold our mission of prioritizing the needs of the water users first and foremost. My decision to resign is due to personal reasons, and I believe it's the right time for me to step down and allow new leadership to guide the board forward. I'm grateful for the support and collaboration I've experienced during my time here, and I'm proud of what we achieved together. And that was it. So, would anyone like to make a motion to accept Dave Moore's resignation?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yep. Discussion.
Oh,
The protocol is motion, second, discussion, then vote.
okay, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? No? Okay. Approved unanimously?
No, you have to take the vote now.
Oh. All approve Dave Moore's resignation, say
Aye?
aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All opposed?
What?
All opposed?
No, none opposed.
Oh, yeah, you just asked
gotta
the
ask.
question. The
Oh.
record needs to reflect that you've solicited yeas and nays. That's all.
Okay.
Right.
So,
So just say any opposed?
any opposed? No. Okay. Motion approved. Are we ready to go on to the next one? Surprise. What is the surprise here? Okay, discussion and possible action regarding services of rural water impact to update and manage the district's
You
website.
decided not to do D. Are you taking them out of order?
Miss
Yeah,
Miss D.
Never mind your food.
Sorry, never mind. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Go ahead.
You want to do D now?
Yes, I'm going to stay on track with what's here. I don't know how you looked at the PowerPoint slides, and here we go. Got it. Discussion and possible action regarding presentation and training by the district's attorney regarding the open meeting law, conflicts of interest, and board duties.
Would you like me to proceed?
Yes, please.
I need your permission to do so in public. As your lawyer, most of what I tell you and speak with you about is behind closed doors in executive session.
Okay.
So I can do that, but that would mean you have to ask everybody to leave. That would be kind of rude. I'm happy to do it in public, but I can't do so without your permission.
Mr. Whittington, would you please begin the discussion, presentation, and training
You bet.
regarding open meeting law, conflicts of interest, and board duties?
I have a handout for each of you, and we'll walk through that. I don't have enough for everybody, my apologies. Didn't know what to expect here. I'm going to bore you with a little bit of this. I'm going to hand these one
Grace.
one packet per.
Oh, one second.
Thank you. Wow, it's so
There's two
cool.
bags.
Two packets.
That was a little heavier.
And then I have another document for each of you. 3, 4. I'm going to walk you through what I've just given you, so I don't make everybody wonder what's going on. I figured I would take as little time as possible today to do this. You know, when I speak at conferences about this, sometimes it take a full day. We're not doing that today. I'm sure everyone's happy to hear that. But I thought maybe 20 minutes, and at least we'll
No,
familiarize
go right
ourselves
ahead.
with the
We're
rules. I'm
fine.
trying to be
This is
sensitive,
important.
but everybody has to put up with it.
I went to one of his presentations at the Rural Water Association conference, and it was quite interesting.
So what I have in front of you is an outline with 9 bullet points on it. Starts with intent, ends with penalties. Do you see this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. The very next page is a copy of the statute that talks about the purpose of the open meeting law. And I've highlighted pieces of it that should come to your attention. And what that statute says is you have an obligation to construe what you do in favor of full disclosure to the public. And it's put in the statute as a public policy statement. That's rare under the statute, which emphasizes how important it was to the legislature when they decided to do this. If you need me to speak up, let me know, by the way.
Please.
Page 3 talks a little bit about meetings being open to the public, and then it lists what you have to include in your minutes. And I've highlighted those so that you can refer to it when you're putting the minutes together if you need to. What's interesting to members of the public, perhaps, and you, Arizona law does not require that you let the public speak at all, only listen. It's weird. They have many times attempted to modify the statute to allow everybody, to require it to allow people to speak. And so far, those attempts have failed. There are states where it's absolutely required. There are times when you must take public input, not at a general meeting, but for instance, when you're doing budget adoption, you must take public input. And annexation, you must take public input. But a meeting like this, they're only allowed to listen. That doesn't mean you can't permit it, but what it means is they can't insist on it. You get to choose. In fact, you're not even obliged to have a call to the public on your agenda. I've prepared a sample, a board packet for you that speaks to that issue, a sample agenda. We'll get to it in a second. The next, page 4, talks about some of the notice requirements. And you'll see there's 2 items that are yellowed. Paragraph I says you may have a call to the public, but you don't have to. That is to say, on your agenda, I think you do it towards the back. You do. Item 6 on the agenda is your call to the public. Because you're not obliged to take public input, you don't have to have it on the agenda. Almost everybody does. And that's the moment where you would ask the public if they have anything to speak about, whether it's on the agenda or not. You have to make a philosophical decision about whether you continue to leave it on the back of the agenda or put it up front. Sometimes you want to put it up front because you may want to solicit input from the public before you get to that item on the agenda. Otherwise, you run the risk of go through the agenda, make your decisions, call to the public, and this gentleman has something to say about something you've already taken action on. Maybe not such a good idea. Paragraph H is a provision that says you must file with the County Board of Supervisors a statement in writing that says where you post. And I don't know if you have. You should check to find out. You're obliged by law to do it unless you put that same statement on your website. I don't know if you've done that either, but it has to be one of the others.
It is there. I did that today, and I made the corrections also.
Oh, great.
Which you had put in that email,
Page 5
and I can show you.
is a highlighted list of the items that you can address in executive session. If it's not on this list, you can't do it. That should encourage you as a board to do almost everything you can in public in front of everyone. But there are times when you can't. For instance, if you need legal advice from me on some potential litigation, you don't want to do that in public because it's in the minutes then, and whoever you're talking about now is privy to everything you just said. So there are things that you're permitted to do and expected to do privately. Number one is employment issues. If you wanted to employ an operations guy or an office manager, you could interview them behind closed doors if you wish. Number two is exempt records. Typically medical records, work comp records, things that are private. Number three is legal advice. Had you chosen to do this presentation privately in an A3, you could have. And then I would tell you all about the law privately and would have to exclude everybody to do it. They'd hate me, they'd hate you, and it's not necessary, but it is truly necessary when you're doing things that you need to keep quiet. For instance, if you're going to sue somebody or take action of eminent domain, you might have a confidential conversation with me and have a talk. And then you get out into public, typically you don't disclose it. When you go out into public, you simply either announce that you had an executive session for legal advice, or you make a motion to authorize legal counsel to proceed as recommended in executive session, and you end up not disclosing all the details, because the purpose of the executive session is to keep it confidential. Number four, you can have a private conference with me to talk about any contract or litigation. As an example, you mentioned you may have a contract for office management. That's where you may want to go into an executive session and give me instructions about what you want to see in the contract. Well, if you did it in public, then everybody, including the person who you're negotiating with, would know exactly what you think. If you want to keep it confidential, you go into executive session. That's number four. Number five allows you to negotiate union contracts in private. You don't have one of those here, but you could. Number six is discussions with international, interstate negotiations and tribal council. Typically, that's if you have a contract across state lines or with a local tribe. Number seven is real property. If you're going to buy real property, you don't want to spill your guts in public about what you're willing to spend for it. Or if you're going to sell it, what you're willing to sell it for. So you go behind closed doors and have a conversation about that, and you can instruct your representative, whether it's your lawyer, your office manager, the realtor that you've hired, instruct them about what, man, we're willing to sell it for $30,000, but try to get $50,000. You would tell them that information behind closed doors. Then when you went into public, you would simply make a motion to authorize the real estate representative that you had a meeting with to proceed as instructed in executive session. That's all you would say. You would, because you don't want to puke your guts out about what you told them. I mean, if you told me to try to sell the property for $50,000, but you take $20,000, why would you go out into public and say, I hereby move to allow Mr. Whittington to try to sell it for $50,000 but take $20,000? Like, what's the point, right? And so you have to sort of be somewhat discreet about what you say in public. Number 8 is school. It relates to school only. It's security. And number 9 is security plans. There's been a move afoot to allow you to privately decide what kind of cameras you want to put up, what kind of listening devices, stuff to create a more secure environment for you and your employees. And if you do that, you can go behind closed doors to talk about it, maybe for obvious reasons. You don't necessarily want the world to know where you're putting your cameras or how much you're spending on them, because then if I'm a bad guy, I know where you're putting it and what you're spending it on, right? So that's executive session stuff. Page 6 is called a table of consanguinity. This is the table that deals with conflicts of interest. And I've highlighted the stuff in it that says these are the people you cannot take action if something relates to them. In other words, if you have in a contract, let's say you wanted to employ your son to work for the district, you would look at this list and see whether or not they're highlighted. If they're, you may not do it. You may not only may you not do it, you can't discuss it, you can't vote on it, you can't participate on it. That's the conflict of interest rules in play. And so if you have somebody you're related to, you cannot participate in whether or not you award them a contract. Furthermore, because you're a board member, you can never award yourself a contract to do business with the district. And so these rules are fairly important. If you violate them, it's a crime. And so you have to pay attention to this. I'm not giving you a lot of information on conflict of interest today, just some examples. But it's called the rule of three. You look at the table, and it identifies everybody that's related to you within a third degree. First, second, and third. Your first degree spouse, second child, grandparent, or grandparent would be number 3. Those are all the people you cannot participate in. So if you had a fifth cousin that wanted to do a contract with the district, you could participate in that and vote on it because it's far enough removed the legislature decided that's not a problem. But you couldn't do it if it was your spouse. The next page is page 7. This is another document about conflict of interest, and it is the statute. It defines what a remote interest is and a substantial interest. And a remote interest essentially gives you examples of things that are not substantial, because the conflict of interest rules only prohibit you from participating if it's substantial. Now, to give you an example, the bottom of the page says a substantial interest is any pecuniary or proprietary interest, either direct or indirect, other than a remote interest. That's all it says. So you have to look up above to see what a remote interest is. And as an example, one of the easy ones would be E, the ownership of less than 3% of the shares of a corporation. So let's say you were a 2% shareholder in APS, and the district was considering a contract with the APS to grant them an easement through your property. Could you do it? Could you vote on it? You're a 2% shareholder. Yes, because you're not a 3% shareholder. If you were a 3% shareholder of APS, you would have to exclude yourself from the conversation, no discussion, no vote, step out of the room if necessary, because you're not allowed to try to influence somebody in favor of APS. So that's the statute relating to conflict of interest. It's fairly complex. It takes a while to digest it. I don't want to say it's too complex. Next is page 8, open meeting law violations. What happens if you've inadvertently violated the open meeting law? Well, the good news is it's fixable. The bad news is if you do it enough, you're going to be punished. As an example, if the AG's office shows up to investigate you and don't like what you're doing, they can fine each and every one of you. And the district can't pay that fine. You have to come out of your own pocket. They can also drag you down to Phoenix and make you sit through a day of training. Sometimes they'll ask me to do that training if you're lucky, but they don't always do it. You can be removed from office as well if the AG's office thinks it's bad enough. Yavapai College in Prescott got popped for this a while back, and the AG's office came up, and not only did every board member get fined, but they made the college have their lawyer at every meeting and submit a written report to the Attorney General's office after every meeting with a copy of the minutes in order to, if you will, develop some control over what was going on. And Yavapai College's board got pretty good at complying with the open meeting law. The problem with this is, among other things, if the AG's office shows up to investigate you, they're going to find not just the one thing someone complained about, but they'll find out you've been making lots of mistakes. They're pretty good about not wanting just to beat you to death. After all, you're a volunteer board. You're not making any money, or at least no more than a stipend. They appreciate that. They don't want, it's not like you're in the Board of Supervisors making $70 grand a year. You know, you're not making enough to be abused. And they know it, so they try not to do it. But these are the ramifications if you do violate the open meeting law. And they pay attention to whether you're getting training and whether it's intentional or just negligence. $500 to $2,500 apiece. Each violation is possible. Page 9 through page 20 is a sample. Again, not customize this so you can see what a good agenda and board packet looks like. And so I've highlighted some things that are useful for you. And I just want to bring a few to your attention. I put everybody to sleep if we do them all, so I won't. But as an example, on page 9, you'll see I've highlighted ARS 38-431.0383. I've done that because the statute says if you want to go into executive session, you must cite the statute. And the Attorney General's office has said, this is the one citation, A3, that you can put in every agenda.
Excuse me. Could we please just pay attention to Mr. Whittington, please? Thank you.
The law says, the AG's office says, you can cite A3 on your agenda. And it's just applicable for anything on the agenda. It allows you to go into executive session on anything in the agenda for legal advice. So I tell clients typically to put that in every preamble so they can go into executive session and call me if they get hung up halfway through and we don't know what to do. And it's already there. You don't have to wait and post it next month. But the others, you have to cite it. A1, A2, A4, A5, A6, A7, A9. If you want to go into executive session for all those others, you actually have to cite them on the statute, or on the agenda. So let's say you wanted to go into executive session to do a review of your district manager under A1, because they're all numbered. You could vote to go into executive session to do that, but only if you've cited the statute on the agenda. So that agenda item, it's on here, but it essentially says possible vote to go into executive session in order to do an evaluation of the district manager. And then somebody makes a motion, somebody makes a second, you go into executive session, you excuse everybody, you meet with that manager, and then when you come back out, you may take action or not. I hereby vote to give a raise, I hereby vote to terminate the contract, whatever you want. You don't have to go into executive session to review your manager, but the law allows it as long as you cite the statute and it's on the agenda. There are other examples of this. I won't go through it except for one. Page 10 talks about the chairman's report. And you'll notice on paragraph A, chair report, I've listed 4 things. Activities for last month, reports, status of construction of new well, and progress of lease purchase on a new truck. I did that to give you a sample of the kind of detail you can put on your agenda if you want to invite conversation about it amongst the board or the public. That's enough detail to allow you to not only explain something, but invite a conversation about it.
Okay.
You're not obliged to do so, but at least it would permit you to do so. I won't go over all the rest, but this is intended to be a sample of what works, if you will. If you take a quick look at paragraph 12, or page 12, I've broken this into 2 parts. One's a sample agenda, and one's a sample board packet. Page 12 relates to agenda item 3 on the agenda. Item number 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda approval of minutes. And son of a gun, if this agenda item prepared by you or the district manager has on it a little recommendation, whether legal review is necessary, and a suggested motion. That's useful. Number one, you got to trust somebody to decide what the recommended motion would be. You can't always do this. But in this particular case, it's approval of the minutes. And so your district manager put together the board packet, and it says staff recommendation, administrative assistant, prepared consistent with past practice. Legal review, not applicable. They didn't need me to review it. If it's a contract or a lease purchase, something more complicated, it might say the lawyers had a chance to look at it and said it was okay. Suggested motion, now your district manager has said, here's sample language for you. I move to approve the regular and executive session minutes for the board meeting of December 17, 2024 as presented. They don't have to do that. You can wing it if you wish. But this allows a board member who's shown up after a hard day of work to go, God, what do I do about approval of those minutes? They can look at this and not make a fool of themselves. They go, oh, the district manager has recommended this language for the motion. I'll read it and see if it makes sense to me, and if it does, I'll use that language. Not obliged to do it, but it gives you kind of a heads up. You know, I just got off the road. I just got done with that delivery to Phoenix. I haven't had a chance to think about this real hard. Listen to this will allow me to do my job. So I'll start with that. That's kind of the package you have in front of you.
Call back.
Move to page number 1 now, if you wouldn't mind.
I apologize for that.
No. Page number 1 of the same document.
Oh.
That's all right. Ready? I've listed on here just a few requirements that are critical. Just, right.
I got it.
It says 24 hours.
Okay.
I gave you one.
No, it's here. I'll just look at hers until I find it.
Teasing you. You see
Here we
where
go. See, it's right
I'm just trying
here.
some fun of you.
Right
Number 2 says 24 hours notice. The law says you have to give 24 hours notice before you have a meeting. Typically, it's done by posting your agenda. Number 3 talks about emergencies. There are times when you failed to do it. You failed to post the agenda, or you failed to put something on the agenda. The critical things might be, I forgot to agendize approval of the budget or the annual report. And those have to be submitted to the county in a certain time frame. What do I do about it? I'm 4 hours away from the board meeting. Oh my goodness, I forgot the 24-hour notice. I forgot to put it on the agenda. You can solve it by declaring an emergency. You come to the meeting. First of all, as soon as you realize it, post it. Now it's only 2 hours before the meeting. Post it anyhow with an amended agenda.
Okay.
The amended agenda says approval of budget. Well, the first one didn't, that you posted 30 hours ago, but this one does. You only posted it 2 hours. What do you do about that? You declare an emergency at the meeting, you get it in the minutes on the record, and you say why. You know, I'm going to declare an emergency on this because we have to get the budget posted or approved tonight. You do your thing, you have a motion, you approve it. Within 24 hours of the end of that meeting, you have to post a notice that tells the public that you made a mistake, and you fix it with an emergency action item. And then it's cured. You've taken care of it. Number 4 is ratification. If you forgot to declare an emergency, or you didn't realize it till you're in the middle of the meeting, and you go, oh gosh, I forgot to put approval of the budget on here tonight. It's too late, we're in the middle of the meeting. And you've already entertained a motion to approve it. So now the budget's been adopted, but it wasn't on the agenda. Well, you're supposed to put that stuff on the agenda before you approve it. How do I solve this problem? You ratify it. Within 30 days of discovering you forgot to do it, you call a special meeting, and you post not 24 hours, you post 3 days, 72 hours. Notice that you're going to ratify action you've already taken. It's called ratification. And so then you post notice to the public and admit you made a mistake and try not to embarrass yourself, but that's, you're politicians. It's your life. And so now you give the public notice. We voted to approve the budget. It wasn't on the agenda. We're going to have a special meeting within 30 days of discovering the problem to ratify approval of the budget. If you do that, it relates all the way back to your motion. So if you approve the budget tonight, even though it wasn't on the agenda, and 20 days later you entertain a motion to ratify it, you got to give the 72 hours notice. But if you do that, it's as if you approved it tonight in compliance with the open meeting law. It relates back to the day you did it. It's a wonderful thing to save your bacon. It's especially useful when you're purchasing things and you signed the contract, but it wasn't on the agenda. You're personally liable. And if you catch it and ratify it, it's as if it was taken care of by the board and you're off the hook. Now it's a board decision, right? The rest of the stuff we've talked about a little bit: minutes, executive session conflicts, public records. Arizona State Library, Department of Library and Archives says, here's all the schedules that we have that talks about how long you have to keep records. You're supposed to adopt a records retention schedule that reflects that. And then you're supposed to adhere to it. It correlates with the body of law that talks about when somebody makes a request for public record, how long you have to disclose it and those kinds of things. If you want to destroy records after that period of time is gone, you can, but you have to let them know you've done it. There are some records that are permanent, and there's some records that go as short a time period as 90 days. The permanent records are your agendas and your minutes, that kind of stuff. Financial records, 4 years, 2 years, 6 years. Recordings for this meeting, 90 days after you've reduced them to written minutes, but not until. Right?
How long do you have to keep the written for?
Minutes are permanent.
Are what?
Permanent.
Permanent, okay.
Yeah. So you don't have minutes yet for the last meeting.
Right.
The law says you either have to have a recording or the minutes, written minutes, available within 3 business days. So he's going to record these, and somebody's going to reduce these to writing, some sort of written instrument soon. The law doesn't say how soon you have to do that, but the law says if I come in 3 days from now, 4 days from now, and want to see your minutes, and you don't have them, you better have the tape available for me. Once you've reduced it to writing and you approve the draft minutes, then you can erase that tape. Okay. That's my lecture for tonight. It was way too long. Thank you for your patience.
No,
I saw you snoring. I did it. Perfectly okay.
No, but one of the things I thought that we were going to discuss and was the POAs that we had been getting. I thought that was a part of.
We can, but isn't that on the agenda?
Oh, is it? Okay, I don't know.
Let's find out.
Somewhere on there.
Past due accounts. Those past due accounts involve a POA, don't they?
Yes.
That's when you can talk
Okay.
about it.
Thank you so much.
I'm not done. That was just a hint. I gave you one other item. I'm not going to go through this with you, but you need to study it. This is a list of things a water board must do and a list of things they may do. This is important. You have to get used to this. The statute goes through and lists a bunch of things you can do, but it also lists some things you have to do. Your failure to perform those obligations can get you into big trouble, so make sure you get familiar with this. Your insurance company also cares about that. Most of your policies provide you only have insurance coverage if you're acting within the scope of your authority. It'll cover you if you make a stupid decision. But what it won't cover you is you're acting outside the scope of your authority. So be sure you get familiar with those things on that list. And we can talk about it later. That's not for tonight. That's literally a half-day lecture at a conference or something. But I'm happy to educate you about it if and when we do this again sometime. Thanks for the invite. So that's it for me. If you want to move forward with your agenda.
You're staying or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm done talking.
Oh. But I'm not done learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we take 5 minutes, 5-minute break?
That's up to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so what do I do to take a 5-minute break?
You just declare it.
Okay,
You have
let's
to do it
take
by
5 and come back, all right? At 6:05.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
I do have one question with
What?
regard to open meeting
When we
law.
get to the website,
In the event
I
that
have the
break
website
public
up
domain
right
of the
now.
subject,
I can
understand
bring it up
one
online,
cannot
and you
discuss
can
it
use
Or
mine.
you can bring it up on here.
Yeah.
But
That's
is
just
it
But I have to,
go
I could
on a
hold it
future
right.
agenda?
No, but it's best practice to do so. It's not required. But I recommend most boards do exactly that. And I on this sample agenda that I created for them has a provision.
So,
Are you okay?
let me see if I understand
Were you
this.
trying not to?
I bring up
Okay.
a subject that
Just-
I want discussed at some point in time regarding policies, procedures, proper way to do things, what they're doing,
So
whatever.
there's our website.
And I bring it up in open
So here's
meeting,
what
they do
the
not
website
have to
says,
answer.
email,
But if I were
about
to do it in a letter
these-
form to the
I don't know if
board,
you've
would
looked at
it
the
then
website
have to be
actually.
answered?
Let me see.
So I can ask a question even as an owner here.
So
And they
I
can
just
ignore
think
it.
this
can just tell
was
me to
actually like
Stick it up
news,
my button gun.
something, the heading.
Well,
for
I
this
wouldn't use
drop
those
down.
terms.
Yeah.
It's a drop down.
But that's what
But
I'd be
heading for,
doing.
like, news,
No. So there's
Which kind of
The
doesn't
answer
really
is true.
say
They
you're
don't have to
looking
do
for,
that.
you want to know
as a matter
about
of
board
best
meetings.
practice. Typically,
such.
boards will have a set of bylaws
So I
that
went
govern
ahead
how they
and
handle
changed
this sort
it.
of stuff.
And that's
And
how
typically
everybody
those
has
bylaws say,
theirs.
if a member of the public or a board
So
member
that
wants
should
something on the
satisfy
agenda,
Joe.
they have to ask for it.
You know, it makes it
And the
more-
board
you
chairman
said
then
it was
has to
gonna
make
be-
arrangements to put it on
should mark
an
it.
upcoming agenda.
But they don't have to put it on.
If it's in the bylaws, they do. That's where the bylaws come in handy. Yeah, but as a matter of law, they do not. They don't have to have bylaws, they don't have to be,
looking at
they-
it.
I know we
They don't have to be
have on the
courteous.
fire board, but that may have been their bylaws or whatever, but
Yes.
anytime the public brought something up, we didn't have to research it and put it on the
Say
future
that.
agenda.
yeah, I represent a lot of these kind of organizations, and I always recommend that they do that.
I
But it's
think.
not because they
Customer
have to.
service.
Because
Yeah, and
it's
it
the
was
polite
just
thing to
a
do.
little
People show up and
form. It
spend
looked
all this
really
time
simple and
listening.
easy.
You'd like to treat them with some
So, I
courtesy
like
and respect. There's only a couple of exceptions to that. One is, if it's a public hearing for a budget adoption or
Not really
annexation,
complete yet.
then you
We
do get
got
to show up and
raising
speak to that, they can't stop you.
Yeah.
But,
For or against us, the case may be.
yeah, but that's
Oh, yeah,
rare.
that's where it
For the
was.
most part, Arizona allows boards to ignore the
And
public.
then the other thing
All they
was,
have to do is let you show up and speak.
oh,
Actually, show up and watch.
everybody's.
Letting you speak is also optional.
Are we gonna do that yet?
Kind of weird,
Thank
but that's,
Yeah,
those
I
are the
was
rules.
just trying to figure out if I needed an answer to something, how could I guarantee an answer?
Can't guarantee it.
They cannot guarantee me yes, no, or
You're
down the
not,
road.
you're not entitled to the guarantee. If I'm a board member, I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure you get that answer, but it's not because I have to. The statute does not require that. It's kind of weird. It's kind
I
of
would
rude.
think as an interested party, I would be
Yeah, I
entitled
think
to
so.
that.
You'd think so, and the legislature has many times, and put stuff in the statutes, try to require it, just that very thing. And it keeps getting overridden.
In detail.
That's probably because the legislature doesn't want to have to do it,
Kind of explain.
right? They don't want to do it. They like to do their own thing. So if they put that in there that required those kind of questions being
This is what you
responded
want
to,
it corrected.
then they're stuck as well.
It's just
So,
very odd.
but if you've got a friendly board, they can answer me,
And they do,
and they do.
but they have to agendize it first.
I don't have anything I'm trying to do right now. I just wanted to get clarification on what the rules were.
Well, I hope that works.
Huh?
I hope I help.
So, I'd rather know if I could get an answer if I need it. I mean, yeah? Yes.
Well, I can't.
That would be best for me.
Yeah, it would be. And someday they'll maybe put that in the statute, but they haven't yet.
No, I just
Okay.
added this.
So that would also work out through if,
Well, this
say,
was there.
somebody had a complaint with the board or practices of the, they don't have to, they can say, stick in your face.
Occasionally a board will say, thanks for talking, and we're moving on. But that doesn't sound like good politics, and it's, you know,
That happened
that's
here.
that's how you lose elections, is to ignore the public.
Yeah, that happened here with this, well, not this board, but the one before. So I was a little pissed about it.
We're hoping that's fixed.
Hey, I have $120,000 worth of damage to my house. Yeah, I'm a little pissed.
Isn't that?
Not yet.
Oh, excuse me.
Not yet.
Try not to know these
It's gonna have to-
Okay, so let's resume the meeting at 6:06. And thanks, Phil. We definitely need more. Okay, so now we're going to discuss agenda item 5F, discussion and possible action regarding,
What about E?
what about what?
Vacancies,
E.
board vacancies.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. I'm trying to, yeah, forgot. Discussion and possible action regarding 2 vacancies on the board. Bill, what?
The law gives you very little instruction about how you do this. But when you have a vacancy, a board member, as an example, decides not to run for re-election. After the election date comes, there's no one who has run, there's a vacancy. You fill that vacancy, this board, by majority vote, has to fill that vacancy. And you can adopt any rule you want to decide how to do that. Typically, it's handled in your bylaws, so there's some consistency. And typically, it's not required, that means you send out a notice to the public that says we're looking for somebody to fill a vacancy on the board. Please submit a letter of interest. and we will then put it on the agenda, interview you. You could do so in the executive session under A1, just like you did the district manager. We'll interview you, and then we will vote as to whether or not to appoint you to fill that vacancy.
So we can go into an executive session
Under
to,
A1. You don't have to.
but we can.
You could, and you usually do go into executive session if there's more than one person, because you don't want the person who you're not yet interviewed to sit out here and listen to all your questions, right? So you go into an A1, you'll talk to the person, excuse them. Go into an A1 with the second person, excuse them. And then somebody entertains a motion to appoint Bill Whittington to fill the board vacancy, who is filling the position vacated by Dave Moore.
Okay.
And then there's a second, there's discussion, then there's a vote.
Well, policies and procedures is a good topic, and we need to discuss that more because we really don't have adequate policies and procedures, and we need direction on how to.
Yeah, there are board policies and there's district policies, operational and personnel.
All of them.
Bylaws sometimes is the term you use for board policies. It handles things like who runs the meeting, how do you handle questions from the public, how do you handle vacancies, who sets the agenda, who approves the agenda, all that stuff is handled in your bylaws, or board policies if you wish.
Have any.
But you will eventually, presumably.
Who's going
Then
to
there's
make them?
Well, the board.
Okay.
But for instance, I write them all the time, I send them to the board, you guys manage them, work them up, change them, whatever, then you approve them.
Oh, okay.
If you want a set of operational policies, like when does a member of the public, when are they required to hook up to the system? What kind of fees do you charge when you permit them to hook up? What if they're vacationers and only live here 3 months a year? How is that different? Those are all operational policies. Then if you hire somebody to work for you, those become personnel policies. It can get fairly complex in a hurry if you allow it. There are some things that are just flat out mandated. You have to. You have to have a non-discrimination policy in place, a sexual harassment policy in place, if you have any employees, right? You have to have an operational policy in place if you want to charge fees for something. The statute permits you to do it, but you can have, and that policy will deal with fees as well as ad valorem tax. Those are all handled in the operational policies. Then there's a set of rules that governs you guys, and that's the board member bylaws or board member policies.
Well, we absolutely.
Which we don't have right now.
We
You can
too.
develop them over time.
Right.
You're doing fine. A lot of the stuff is common sense. I like to say about policies is they're unimportant until you need them. A lot of people don't look at the policies for years. Then they finally need them. Oh, how do we fill a vacancy? I wonder if it's in the bylaws. Oh yeah, here it is. You put it in the newspaper for 2 weeks. Okay, cool, I can do that.
We need to address that. So, am I ready to go to agenda item 5F?
That's up to you.
Discussion and possible action regarding services of rural water impact to update and manage the district's website. So there was a 30-day risk-free trial, which is what we did, and it's $605 annually, and I'm going to bring it up.
2-week trial, 14-day.
I read the contract, 30 days is what it said.
Sure.
Yes. So I can bring it up so you guys can see it.
Because we're on 2 weeks since the website launched. It's 2 weeks.
So we couldn't get BCCWID.org, so it's going to be .com. And here we go.
You can also pick .gov if you wish.
Oh, really?
We've already registered.
Great.
.com, everybody, everything else is kind of like, is it this or that? .com.
Some governmental entities do .gov, so everyone in the world knows you're a government.
Are we that
agency.
governmental, but just
So
.com.
this is just it's not done. It's still being worked on. But as you can see, it looks a lot better than the other one. And when we have online bill pay, you'll be able to go here and do bill payment by mail, draft. I believe they have.
So you're going to put the website up there? You can plug it into here and It should go up.
Well, no, we don't have that much time left, so you guys can go to, you
Swap
just
the plug.
put in bccwid.org and you'll come up to it.
It's .com.
.com, sorry.
Right. And there is no contract. Okay, this is just a subscription, you know.
We're going to
no
vote
contract.
on, I read the potential contract.
Okay, the terms and conditions are, that's basically
So,
the contract, but there is no, you know, actual contract.
so we were told it would take 1 to 2 months to activate the debit credit pay. I don't think it'll take that long, but and the fees will be as follows: $0 to $50 bill. It'll there's a $1.95 charge. If it's your bill is $50.01 to $100, you'll be charged $2.75. And anything greater than $100, it will be 2.75%. It's going to take a little bit longer to get the ACH portion in, where you can do electronic check, and that will just be a flat $1.95. So I think that's great, because that's less than $2, and you just send an electronic check. So we need to vote as to whether or not we want to go beyond the 2-week or the 30-day free trial. There's a and pay the $605 annual fee. Any discussion on it?
I have a quick question.
Can we take questions now?
Madam Chair, you can.
Okay, yes.
So I pay my bill now with an electronic check from my bank. Is that going to change?
No.
So there's not going to be a fee added to it?
When you I send my bill with an electronic check, and I have to go to my bank's website,
Right.
and I issue the check from here.
Right.
This is if you go to the Paystar website and issue a check
Okay.
from that way.
Is there a link on your website for that?
We're
There
not
will
going
There
to
will be.
When there's
there
a
will
portal.
be. Online bill pay is not ready to go
when
yet.
They
Jerry?
have, like, what's a portal.
Being
so
a
there will
person
be
who is hearing impaired and depends on lip reading, when somebody from the audience asks a question, can you please repeat the question so others can hear it?
Sure. Anything else? Any discussion from the board?
Yes, so on February 5th, we basically, February 5th to February 5th, 2006 will be, the due date for the payment is February 5th
Okay,
to begin the service. The free trial ends on February 5th.
okay.
So we began the free trial 2 weeks ago.
So we just need to decide if we want to continue beyond a free trial and pay the $605 annual fee.
Right, yeah, the $605 includes 1 free month. But that's for a year, and so that takes us from February 5th to February 5th, 26th.
So does anybody want to make a motion? Do we want to go ahead and move forward with paying the $605 annual fee for the website?
There's also the setup fee, $449. So the total will be $1,054.
My understanding was they weren't going to do the setup, that you were transferring the information.
That was $600 that I did the content transfer instead of them doing it. So that was going to be $600. We don't need them to do the content transfer. I did it. So the setup fee is for anybody who's getting one of these websites. And they launched the website last Wednesday. We
Okay,
have 2
so here's
weeks.
the invoice right here.
We have 2 weeks from when they launched it to decide if, we want to keep the website, we want to pay for a year, and the setup fee.
Okay, so we will change that from $605 to $1,054, which is a one-time setup fee of $449. Would anybody like to make a motion, please, on approving the $1,054 expenditure for the website.
I motion to approve the $1,054 for the new website.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Discussion?
I'm sorry, any discussion?
It's a wonderful service. I've been able to do a lot of really, getting things transferred very quickly. It's very efficient. It's, a good value for us. It's going to be a great, service for customer service and.
Well, there's a wealth of information that could be put on that website that was
Yeah, I've
not.
just begun. I mean, there's so many files that can get put on there. Bob, can we do the operations reports in a PDF? That can go on the
Yeah.
website. That can,
Yeah.
So there's so much, so we can, have everything on there. We can have so much, there's so much people can, if they have an interest, take the time to research and look into things.
Yep.
And so, and it's just very user friendly, so that you'll be able to do this. We, are going
Better
to.
than my PowerPoint thing.
We're going to have our 1 hour walkthrough, and there's 2 of those that comes with this. So whenever we can get that arranged, and 2 or 3 of us, to be able to edit and work on the website. But for the most part, I can do things. You let me know what you need, and I can do it. And,
Okay.
So it's, I'm all for this, 100%. And I really like it a lot. It's too bad. I mean, if you could just pull your plug and let me plug it here, people.
No, they can look at it. We don't have time. We're 20 after 6. We're going late as it is.
Right.
So, BCCWID.com. You can look at the website. It's not done. We'll send out announcements or notices when everything is functioning, including the.
It has an alert system.
Oh, that was the other great thing. It has an alert system. So if we're going to have water outages,
can
it
do it
will
by
come
email,
up on
by
the
text.
page or send an email.
You can choose either email or text. If you do both, sometimes text won't have the whole message and all the details. So if you have text and email, the email will give you the more detailed, description of what's happening. And Bob, we can get you on board with that real quick, where you can,
Okay.
you can pretty much go direct, and you can.
I know one of the things is there is going to be a water shutdown on Thursday, and Lisa or Julie is going to have to call like 20 people to let them know the water is going to be shut off. This will eliminate that. We'll just be able to send out a text and we're done with it. And then hopefully it will reduce the number. I've been spending a lot of time in the office, and hopefully it will reduce the number of calls coming in with people saying, oh, my water's out. So this is going to be
Yeah, it's
a
so
really
good for everybody.
great tool.
Yeah, it's so good for everybody. Just
Okay, so we're running short in time, and agenda
So
item
it's-
5 is continued.
You need a motion.
You had the motion
You
and
need to
Oh,
vote.
wait.
You need to
we
vote.
need to vote.
right,
vote.
and just
Thank you.
just to make a point too, that they won't manage it. This is basically a web hosting company, so we manage the website.
Okay, so
But
what do I need to do now?
You need to take a vote.
Okay, so everyone in
And I made the
favor?
motion, did I?
Yes,
Yes.
you did.
Yes.
Somebody
Yes,
made
you
a
did.
motion and a second.
And
Right,
second,
and so
all
now
in
we-
favor say yes.
Aye.
Any opposed or any opposed? No, we're good. Okay.
Madam
Motion.
Chair, just one item. Every contract you enter into has to have a few things state law requires in it. If you'll contact me and get me a copy of this contract, I'll show you what it is.
Terms and conditions.
Kind of.
I mean, there is no contract.
There's an invoice, isn't there?
There's an agreement,
That
yes.
describes, the
Oh,
yes.
agreement is what I'm
Yes.
talking
She has
about.
the
Yes.
invoice.
There's a couple of things that have to be in every agreement a governmental agency enters into. State law says you have to put these things in.
Did you
every
really
one.
have to add one more thing?
I did. I'm sorry. But I'll make it easy on you. If you just send it to me, I'll take a peek and I'll clean it
Okay,
up.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
My mother loves me. It's
My mother's dead.
We have a lot to do.
I love you, Bill.
And
Okay, continuing on with agenda item 5H, discussion and possible action regarding relocating the district office from
Skip G.
Suite
Skip
6
Enhance?
Did I miss it?
G.
I'm trying to hurry.
It's all right. It's
Where-
a lot.
I got G. It's
I don't envy you at all. I wouldn't even begin
what did I
to do
miss?
this. It's G. It was enhanced. On light bill payment options.
We actually covered that. So we did the rural water impact, and we don't really have to discuss Enhance because that's already a service that Enhance provides. So there's nothing to discuss there. What do I need to do with it?
You
We're
can
good.
just bypass it if you
We're
want.
gonna bypass it. Okay, so we're still gonna go to relocating. I am looking at so many software apps and my brain is about ready to explode some days with all of these changes and keeping up with it and a graduate degree. So
So you're in Office A now?
we're in Office
Suite 6?
Suite 6
Six, and you want to go to 1?
to
I
number
don't-
1.
I don't.
That's at the end of the building?
Yes. So the suite we've been in now, that's been there for over 20 years, it worked well for perhaps the old management company. They operated the water district and a realty company out of Suite 6. But it's like trying to, now we have, I'm in there frequently, Lisa's in there, Bob periodically comes in, the field guys come in, and it's like trying to fit, how many people can you fit in a Volkswagen? It is not working. We are on top of each other. If you want to see what Lisa's doing on the computer and learn how to work in QuickBooks, you can't sit and do that. And today, one of Bob's guys came in, and I'm sitting at the desk they typically use, so I moved to Lisa's desk, so two of us are at that desk, and it's just, it's too much. So, Suite 1 is available. Suite 6 is 200 square feet. Suite 1 is 800 square feet. Suite 1, it's $200 more a month for an additional 600 square feet. The leasee is responsible for making any changes to that office to accommodate our personal needs. And there will be some things that need to be done, and we'll get some bids on that. But the big thing is in just being able to secure that space and preparing to move. I know some of the other spaces are going for more than $800 a month, but because the district has been there for so long, the owner is giving us a good price on this office.
You said it's 800 a month or 800 square feet?
Pardon?
800 a month or 800 square feet?
800 square, it's 800 square feet and 800 a month. Jerry?
May I say that I was interested in that suite when I moved out of the plaza? He was asking $1,500 a month for that unit.
He likes us
Just kind
better.
of for you guys to be aware.
It's been
But-
vacant forever, hasn't it?
No,
Do what?
no.
It's not.
Well, it hasn't been vacant forever.
I mean, it seems like for most of the time, I think, that the
Blue
building.
Poles was in there for a month or two, and that was it.
And they've been gone for a little while.
So it was vacant for a while. Blue Poles moved in, and then they moved out soon after. You know, why do you need a pole service for a swimming hole? It's out at the river.
People have poles.
Yeah.
We supply the water for a while.
So it will give us more room to accommodate Bob and his guys. For us, we're going to be we'll have engineers and RCAC. We're opening up the district to other resources coming in, and this has never happened before. And maybe it was because they didn't have room. If you want to have a private conversation now, you have to go into the bathroom, because that's the only place with a door. It just is not functional for our needs anymore. Any questions, discussion?
Could I ask a question? Is it still shared with the realty company or no?
No.
Okay.
No, the real estate part of left with the former.
Okay,
Yeah, it was
Okay.
always supposed to be just the district, to my understanding.
okay, I just.
It is just district.
Yeah, and it always should have been.
Madam
to my
Chair, I have a
understanding.
question for you.
Yes,
Are you planning on entertaining a motion to approve the lease?
yes,
Is it a written lease?
yes,
Has the board seen it?
no.
Okay.
Now he's gonna throw another wrench into it.
Yeah, 'cause I
I'm
wouldn't
kidding.
wanna,
No,
I wouldn't wanna do it
I'm
without
just
signing
kidding
the
him.
lease either.
Your fiduciary duty would probably suggest that before you vote to approve it, you look at it.
Okay,
And since it's a contract between the district and a private entity, it needs to contain that language I talked about.
okay,
So it's okay to, you can
Discuss.
go ahead and discuss, and you can even get the board to approve proceeding with it. But you need to get that contract in front of the board and approve the contract.
so should
eventually.
we proceed or table it until the next meeting, which will probably be a special meeting?
Your option.
Okay, so
Yeah. Some questions.
we'll table it for now. I think we're going to end up having a special meeting, by the second week of February. Do you have any discussion, Tom?
On this, how many employees are in the office that we need 800 square feet? And is that really 200 square feet, do you think? Maybe it's a little bigger than that?
No, that's what the owner of the building said, 200 square feet. Bob?
Currently, we don't have a desk. So when Joe's doing office work, he's doing it in the truck. Or he's doing it at home. It's just not very.
There's like 2 desks, right? Lisa has 1 desk.
No,
Tom,
Lisa
come
has,
spend a day in the
Lisa has
office.
Lisa has both.
there's computers set up, there's screens set up on our desk.
There is not enough room.
Who's paying for the office?
That is not on the agenda, and that will be discussed along at another special meeting. Melina, you were in the office for a day or so. Did you? You were kind of overwhelmed with all of the functions, but did you notice that the traffic and the?
It was very small in there. It's about as big as this space right here. There were 3 chairs for people to sit. We were trying to have a conversation to find out about the email page. People kept coming in. We had to talk over them. They were talking over us. We couldn't hear. It was really... And then the other day I went in there and I peeked around the corner. Don't do that. It's just a big mess in there. There's seriously not enough space.
As a customer walking in and discussing my billing or what have you, and I have multiple bills, I got to admit I'm not real thrilled at having other people there listening to my personal business. That's my opinion
Can I make one comment?
for you guys to consider.
Yes.
If you're going from 200 to 800 for obviously what she's paying probably for the cost of 400, to me it's a no-brainer.
It's only $200 more a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a limit on your contract with them? Do they want it ASAP or do you have a couple months?
No, but because we just need to look at the contract and have the attorney look at it as soon as possible because we need that additional space. It is just working in there is just
I
way.
understand that, but with the owner of the property, is he giving you a time limit? On
No,
okay.
no. But that's our preference is to look at the contract, have the attorney review it, and decide as soon as possible because Bob's been dealing with this and his guys, and it's not fair. It's not fair to him and his crew, and to those of us that are in the office trying to get things moving forward. I've been spending a lot of time in there, and it's difficult to work in that space.
Okay.
So we'll table this and be expecting a special meeting sometime early February. And Bill, I will get that information to you quickly.
Do I motion to table it, or?
We don't need to motion to table it, correct, Bill? We can just table it?
You have two choices.
Okay,
A motion to table automatically puts it on next month's agenda,
okay.
or you can simply pass it, in which case it doesn't designate what month it goes on. You can just pick and choose.
We can just pass it. It's simple. So agenda item 5, continued new business. Discussion and possible action regarding capital improvement projects. And so, that wasn't a capital improvement project, so I can't ask you a question. Yeah, darn. But this goes back to doing the work, replacing pipes because the county is going to repave. We talked to a roads manager with Yavapai County, and that's not a requirement. The problem is there's a 5-year moratorium, and if they repave, what is the worst that could happen if there's a leak and we need to fix it?
It's an increased cost due to the way they make us do the paving. Because they receive a guarantee on the road, and so it has to be put back to those specs. So if we do the construction now, we just slurry, we put a little asphalt on there, and we move forward. It's a lot less expensive to do work.
Well, that goes back to the Ironwood Palo Verde project, and that ended up costing more than we expected. And one of the things that I'd asked for was in the bids to replace these pipes was to include a cost of a company going in, and I know they do this, to locate the pipes before we start the project, which would make sense versus just digging and waiting for the water and saying, oh, there it is. We had a woman come in the office today, and on that project where Chandler had to get into the wash and dig there because the pipes, and evidently her fence was damaged, and so she is upset that it still has not been repaired to its original condition. So I see it as a headache either way. But then we're going to deplete that capital improvement fund account, and I'm just not okay with that. What about the panels, the electrical panels that you had talked about replacing when we went on that tour, and we said that there were panels, you pointed out some?
Yeah, all the panels need to be upgraded. So that would just be one of the projects. On the booster pumps all have panels. The well pumps have panels. All of those need to be upgraded.
Could you please just, and I'll be happy to help, get prices on what it would cost to do those so that we can move forward and get some of that work done, and that work will not deplete our capital improvement account.
So we're working on getting a quote for the booster pump station for the schoolhouse tank. So that has 2 booster pumps, so it's a new APS panel, breaker box, and a control panel for those 2 pumps. So once that comes, we will have a good place to start.
How long do you think that'll be before you?
I'm surprised they don't have it, so I'll give them a call and figure out why they have it.
Do you want me to get on them? No.
Probably from California.
So one of the things that we haven't considered is under Abbott Street is transite lines. If we get a bunch of earth moving equipment on there, they're going to shatter those lines. That's why that's one of the reasons that we wanted to move forward with that.
So are you suggesting that perhaps Buckskin Court, I think it can wait. Abbott Alley, that's not even on the
Abbott Street and Abbott Alley.
So Abbott Street and Abbott Alley, could we just get a bid on those and not Buckskin Court?
Sure.
And could we also include in that, get a cost of what it would be to locate the lines before we go in there and start digging and go over the bid by $20,000?
We can do that.
I'm not saying it's your fault. It just makes more sense to me to locate the lines and then dig if it's not an outrageous
Part of, yes, yes. And so they'll come out with like a hydrovac or something to try to locate the lines. But if we don't have a place to start, they can't find the lines.
So what would your suggestion be on that?
Unfortunately, well, and so you can get into, we've tried some infrared where they can penetrate the soil. We tried that up in the Prescott area, which is similar to this, rocky. It did work. We spent $5,000 trying to locate lines that we couldn't find. And so other than that, it's digging them up. Unfortunately, it's digging them up. Because
Following.
But you look at, did they not locate any of the lines? It was not successful at all, even a little?
not even a little.
But I was talking to the gentleman from the National Rural Water Association, and he was mentioning other options in locating lines, and it sounded very, I probably need to reach out to him and,
We can do some more research. I mean, they can thump the lines, but that's based on water pressure. And usually that's a service line where you can restrict the flow and not a main line. So I'll reach out and see if
the angst I have with it is we get a bid for $200,000, and then all of a sudden this bid goes up by $20,000 to $50,000, and I do not want to deplete the capital improvement fund and start having to take money out of the arsenic sinking fund or these other accounts, and that's how the district is operated historically.
Correct.
And that needs to stop. We need to get a grip on the budget, the condition of the district, where we need to start in these repairs. I think the only thing that I'm concerned about is because it is the transite, which is the asbestos.
Right.
And I was not impressed with a bid being increased by $50,000 just because there was a 4-month delay.
2-month delay or something.
2-month delay. That's
that
not
happen?
okay. So sometimes I feel like, would we have a project like this come up, suddenly the price of the project goes up because we have limited contractor availability.
Well, part of, I think the reason that the price went up was some of the difficulties they had in the last line repair, replacement.
So what's going to make this one different?
Right, and so that's why he went up by $50,000.
But he talked about that before he even did that Palo Verde project. He talked about, if we got a rebid, because the bids were in on that, and, then that was when the board, so, yeah, I mean, he said if it's gonna go to bid again, he said it's gonna be 50,000
Okay.
more.
Yeah, he said
And there was-
that. He said that at the
He
meeting.
said, okay.
That's what I seem to recall.
There was no justification. It was just the bids going up because price.
Yeah.
I want to see,
mean,
well, how much did the material go up?
materials.
How much did the labor go up?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask for those specifics in bids? I want to see why it increased by $50,000. And I asked for that. I want to see what the material cost in the original bid, and then I want to see what it cost in the second bid and where it went up. Otherwise, I
That's
say
a
we're
pretty
going to
big
take...
bump. Yeah, I mean, that's
Right.
a big bump.
And unfortunately, it is a lot. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to the homeowners.
I mean, how
But-
much asbestos or transite pipe, is there a lot that crosses the road? And how much runs along the road
So-
to where you don't have to dig pavement to, replace?
Yeah, I would have to pull up the plans that we do have.
Whatever we do
Yeah.
have. But
On
you
the
know what I mean?
napkins?
So
It
we
wouldn't
have-
make sense to replace anything that goes under the road.
So we have 1,740 feet of transite line along Abbott Alley, and Abbott Street.
Well, if we can get a reasonable bid, if we can see about locating the lines, I'll reach out to the National Rural Water Association, the gentleman that was in the office, because when we were discussing how to locate the lines in the district, he was very knowledgeable and very clear on the steps that we could take to do that. And so I'm comfortable with his level of experience and knowledge. And perhaps he's someone, it was sort of a random, spontaneous thing, but I think he would be worthwhile for you to speak with him as well.
Can I ask a quick question about?
We're going to go over, if anyone feels like they need to leave. Cindy, do I need to come back and give you medical care?
No, just proceed.
Okay.
Is it typical to, put the lines next to the road, not, I understand service lines go under the road. They have to. The main's gonna be on one side of the road or the other?
Yeah, typically they're on the edge of the road.
Right. So, as far as what's actually under the road that, we're concerned about heavy equipment, which I hadn't heard a mention of that before till now, about, what's under the road. But are the service lines are actually transite?
The service lines are probably galvanized.
Right, so they're not apt to be crushed by the equipment. It's more the
It's the transite, and then if we're on the edge of the road, are they going to blade 4 feet on each side so that they have a nice apron, shoulder?
Right.
They have been on Church Street and the other one.
David Street, yeah.
They took more space.
I live right on David
Yeah.
Street, and there's a big, there's plenty of.
And then that's how our pipes now get under the road, because the roads keep on expanding. And
The paving is 24 foot wide, is what they told me. 24 foot wide of the paving. Everything else is right of way.
Right.
And you would expect that most pipe is accessible except service lines that cross under the, under the road.
There was a gal on Palo Verde's.
We want to replace all that asbestos any way we can.
But wait, let's try and really just get to the finer points, because it's,
Okay. I'll work on finding, I'll talk to the line locator that I use, see if he has any ideas, and I can call, I think his name was Dale.
okay.
And I'll call the National Rural Water guy and see if he's got any ways we can locate our lines.
And really, I think he will have some, he actually said, and I think Joe met him, that if we needed training or whatever, he would be here to provide it. If there's a leak and we can't find the location, then there's somebody in Phoenix. So I think that might be.
Yeah, there's some leak detection equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is installing meters in all the wells. We're in the business of selling water. And it dawned on me, we have no idea how much water we're making to sell. We kind of get an estimate on how much we sell based on the bill, but we don't know how much we're making. And so we really don't know how much we're losing either.
Right. So
could we move forward in getting, what would it take to get meters put on the wells?
It's piping and meters. So I can get you prices on that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That would be exciting. RCAC, USDA, any of these people that we're going to look, grovel for money, they're going to want to know, because we sell water, how much water do we make? How much we generate?
They're going to bid, and then they're going to be concerned about our water loss.
Well, we should be concerned about our water loss. And if we start making improvements and replacing meters and replacing lines, how are we going to know if we're addressing where the loss is at? We won't if we don't know how much. It just is logical. Is it?
No, yeah, you should have production meters on every well.
Okay.
From way back.
So
that just seems like.
So that's something you're going to move forward with, right?
Yep, I'll get you quotes.
And then
Is there anything on Big John? Would it be included on Big John, or could
I
it?
believe it's going to have a meter, yes.
It will.
Yeah.
So we're good on Big John.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I don't even think you can get a well approved nowadays through DWR without a meter on.
And like with the WIFA as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, and the
So, anyways.
PER. I sent you the
Sorry.
I sent you the name of an organization that RCAC uses for arsenic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I think because that's a very expensive project, that would be like over $1 million, you said. Camp Verde just got $2 billion from the state of Arizona to replace their arsenic system because their levels were increasing. I don't want to take out a loan for over $1 million if we could just get an assessment of our arsenic system by an engineering firm and then approach the state with the conditions that would perhaps prompt them or encourage them to give us some money as well. I mean, if Camp Verde can get $2 million, maybe we
Just
can.
have to be patient.
Well,
Yeah, how did they get the funding? I think that's the question.
because their arsenic levels were increasing, and they, I'll have to get the research out that I
Right.
was reading.
So did they get some money from the governor's office?
Yes,
Did they get it?
I believe that's who it came from.
Okay.
I will have to double check. But I can't write a report and say, this is the reasoning that we're using to ask for this money. According to the engineer, our arsenic system, and then I need to be able to describe it. To confirm that our need for money and our need to replace the arsenic system is justifiable. Until we have that assessed, we're just saying, hey, our arsenic system is getting old. Will you guys throw us a couple $1 million or $1 million so we can replace it? That's not going to work. I need to be able to describe the problem, or an engineer needs to be able to describe the problem and justify why we need the money and why it needs to be replaced.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and the arsenic company that we currently have has stated that the tanks are beyond their life expectancy.
That's
20
not going to work.
years, right? They're coming
Is
up
that causing
6
a
months
problem?
from 20
I'm
years.
probably beyond a life expectancy.
Okay, yeah.
But
Well, they're 6 months from 20 years, from what it says
Right.
on the old website.
Well, right. Okay.
And
well,
20 years is...
And so that's what the engineer's going to come up with, is the tanks are beyond their life expectancy.
well,
Right.
But I'll call the engineer. They're gonna charge us a fee for them to come out and assess the tanks. And
we need reasons beyond the fact that it's beyond their life expectancy to replace them. I sent you, I forwarded you an email from RCAC
Mhm.
with an engineering company that they recommended for arsenic. I can't remember the name of them. Did
Okay.
you?
I didn't see that. Was that today?
No, that's been a week or so. So I'll resend that.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of them.
Interesting. Okay.
But you have your people, but let's also talk to somebody else and see if they have
Sure.
perhaps something different.
Sure. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think we need to vote on any of that stuff.
And the levels have been looking pretty good, haven't they? I
Yeah.
mean, it's less than
so
7,
it's working.
down to 5.
Our concern, and so the issue with the arsenic system is we have 3 systems. 2 of the controllers are out. We have to backwash manually.
Is that electrical?
Yeah.
So is that a major fix? Or
$70,000.
How much?
70.
70,000?
We need to get moving. It's 10 to 7.
Yep, go on.
So let's just look at that as a potential project. We just need to be careful and not deplete the capital improvement fund account. And we need to also wait for these people that we are asking. We have invited in to help us do an assessment before we start doing all of these things. Let's figure out what the problems are and establish the priorities instead of just picking something like throwing a dart. Okay, agenda item 5, discussion and possible action regarding possible rewrite of the policy manual, including potential revisions to the district's procurement policies. Bill?
I looked at your policies online, and I noticed the procurement policy's out of date. The rest of it, I didn't spend a lot of time on. I thought I'd put this on the agenda just to encourage you to consider an update. You don't have to deal with it tonight. I wanted at least to be on the table for you.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And then discussion and possible action regarding past due accounts. And we were talking about those customers coming in with POAs.
What's the question?
How do we deal with customers coming in with POAs? They're not on the bill. They're not the property owner, but they are acting on behalf of the person renting the property or the property.
The law does not require that you honor those POAs, but if you want to, because it makes life easier for the consumer, you may, but you have to make sure those POAs are adequate.
And how do we do that?
Well, you have to have somebody with enough expertise to know what they're looking at. I can do that, obviously. I hate for you to spend a lot of money on it.
I was just thinking, that's like very expensive.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what the purpose is. If the POA is just paying the bill, great. If the POA is doing something like giving you instructions that are going to put you to expense or commitments that are going to cost money, then I think you want to be a little more careful and insist that you deal directly with the property owner.
So, case in point, someone came in and they are managing a property for a property owner that lives out of state. Presented a POA. The person renting the property was had a water bill including late charges of over $2,000.
So it was renting.
They were renting the property.
Is your contract with them or the property owner?
The contract is with the people renting the property.
With the renter, okay.
But the person came in with a POA and they said the property owner gave them the right to, I sent you the POA.
Yeah, and I haven't digested it yet.
Okay.
If you have a contractual relationship with the renter, then you don't care about the POA.
We don't.
If your relationship's with the owner, then you have to decide if the POA is relevant.
So they came in and they were upset because we did not notify the person with the POA that the renter was behind $2,000 in the bill. Is that a...
No, that's not your obligation with
Okay.
the POA.
Okay.
Whether you may decide to do that out of courtesy because you want a good relationship with the property owner, but the POA doesn't insist that you do that. That's not what the purpose of a POA is.
Okay. So if somebody comes in and says the bill is $2,000, why are you just now telling me? And they're not on the bill and they're not the property owner, and we can just say it's not our responsibility.
What you can say is the POA is not relevant to the conversation.
Okay.
You still have to decide who to bill for that past due account and pursue it, whether it's the tenant or the property owner. I don't have enough information from me to tell you which one to pursue. That is something you can find out. It's something I can find out, but it has nothing to do with the POA.
Okay. It's just we've had 2 or 3 come in with the same problem, and it's just...
You need to decide who your contract's with. Forget the POA for a moment. Decide who your contract's with and pursue payment. If it's with the property owner, bill him. If he doesn't do it, shut him off. And then lien the property. If it's with the tenant, you can shut him off, but you can't lien the property.
So the contract would be the paperwork that is filled out when somebody comes in to secure water services. So Jerry, he just made a comment about POAs. Could you please repeat that too?
I'm not sure I can.
I know, it's been a long...
The POA has very little to do with what information what action you're obliged to take. The POA simply gives somebody the right to speak
You need
to
to
the
speak to
property.
her.
Can you hear me?
I
She has to
can't when you're
read
talking to
somewhat.
her, but I can when you're looking at me.
All right, I'll look at you. The POA has to do with who gets to speak for the property owner. It imposes on the board no obligation to do anything other than that. And so if this person wants the board to give them notice that somebody's behind on their payments, that's not a POA issue. That's a contract issue.
I see.
So you need to figure out who your contract's with.
Do you have any questions on that?
Well, my POE gives me the authority to do anything but sell the property.
That's
but I'm
fine.
not worried about it because I believe the property is getting ready to be sold.
No, but let's just
that puts no burden on the district to keep you informed about who's paying and who is not. You don't get to use the POA to place burdens on the district. All the POA does is authorize the district to speak to you. It gives them no obligation to do so.
I see. Okay.
Okay, that's it. Any questions? We're really late. I'm so sorry. This has been, but we're getting a lot done.
Item
Been
L.
a big learning curve.
Yeah, one more.
Item L.
Oh, gosh. Oh, this is the important one. Ratification of, purchase of the office computers. So how do we start with this?
Describe what it is, who paid for it, and ask the board to ratify the purchase.
Okay, let's get rid of this.
We don't need that. We don't.
No, I know, I'm trying to close it out. So we purchased 2 computers. The computers were not just randomly, we didn't just go, hey, let's get this. Our IT guy, who did not sell us the computers, we asked him, what would you recommend for our business and for accommodating the growth that we're expecting to have? He recommended a Dell XLS. I have the invoice.
Specification.
Yeah. And so we did that because at one point there were just issues with the computers.
Majorly security, right?
It was awful.
Majorly
And so
security.
we spent $4,000 on 2 new computers with all of the equipment that goes with them. And I didn't put it on the agenda for the last, for the January 10th meeting, so it's on the meeting now. And you guys are well aware of all the issues that we were having with the computers and
Yeah.
Was it a personal payment, or did you use district money?
I used the BMO debit card.
The
so
district's.
District money,
So you just need ratification of the expenditure. You don't need a reimbursement.
right. That's why we got the debit card.
Right.
It's-
And also, it wasn't just security, but it was the Enhance not being able to link because it was couldn't be updated because the computer was too old, and Enhance couldn't link up with QuickBooks, and everything got way inefficient. Everything got kind of, and I don't know, it was 2016 or something, the last time that it got updated.
So we have a motion to approve the
Yes.
ratification for
Thank
the
you.
expenditure of 2.
Motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify for the expenditure of 2 new computers
In the amount of?
in the amount of we won't go over this long at the next meeting, in the amount of $4,606.30.
Treasurer? I second the motion to approve
Who made
the
the motion?
expenditure.
Who made the
of-
motion
Secretary? What?
I'll make the
Who made the
motion
motion?
to
She doesn't need to repeat.
To ratify.
ratify the computer purchase of $4,600.
You don't need to repeat it.
Okay,
You said it.
I said it.
She can so move.
you so move. Okay, all in favor?
There's a second.
Tom needs
You
a
need a
second.
second.
Oh,
second.
okay. I second the motion.
Discussion,
Discussion.
if any.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did you vote?
Aye. Come on. No, no one opposed. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, motion passes unanimously to ratify the purchase of 2 computers for $4,606. Anybody want to say anything other than,
Are you on item number 6 now?
pardon?
Are you on item
Public
number
call.
6?
Call to the public.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Call to the public. Please, you guys. No.
Sorry we went 2 hours
Zip
here.
it. Thank
But
you.
there might be a burden.
Oh my
desire.
gosh, Jerry.
It's a lot.
I got a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
You don't need to move to adjourn. The chairman simply declare the meeting adjourned.
The meeting is adjourned at 7:02 p.m. Finally. Thank you all for coming.
Because you've got a lot to cover.
You
You
do.
got so many things you're trying to
That's what I
fix.
mean. I think you're doing pretty good. That's a
It's
lot.
like,
It's so good that,
and thank you, Mr.
guys all
Whittington,
came.
for coming, and
yeah,
It was nice to meet you.
and I could go.
Thank you.
I make a better nurse.
Alright, I do have a question, but I don't want to.
What?
You got another full-time job. It's a lot.
Oh, they're putting in, that's been
That's what
planned for like 10 or 15
It
years.
is.
It's like a huge,
How much
yeah.
is a full
they have their own alleged, but my understanding,
You seem like you're
Oh, yeah, it's like, now I know.
they were on water, so it's not supposed to come from us.
I know.
You would never sign something you haven't read.
Oh, yeah, they are.
You'd never sign something.
I don't know.
Then you can't ask the board to do it.
It is.
Yeah,
That's right.
It is.
Excited about it, and I got wind of it, so I told the owner.
Well, I know 20 years ago.
It's a great idea, but you wouldn't do it, so you shouldn't ask them to.
Alright, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming tonight, we appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks for all the work.
It's so nice not to be like,
We get the new page.
and it's empty room.
And then we don't have to. So, I wish I knew.
Will do. We ought to call the public.
Why will everything if you can get around?
Oh my gosh.
I'm already here in my house.
It's like,
Once they finally find out.
Nice to meet you.
you know, they
And we made it.
I'm crying.
All right.
folks.
Oh, it's